Chile here with Sirius Talis Moon hour. Jupiter day moon is about to square Pluto. And I was talking about Venus in Leo. There is also the ongoing square of Uranus to the nodes, which I predicted is going to be about the image, not the image as a Libra sense, but although the midheaven is in Libra now, but the picture, the message, the medium. And there are certain things where this Uranus squares the nodes. How should I say that? People are not quite aware of what is happening and why. I think something about this square is going to further clarify that. Think about when they introduce a new technology, then people are not always aware of what is the technology or what is happening. Okay, I remember when I was covering NATO news, and I saw that they were using some sort of telepathy, and there were also other scary things. But I was like, wait a second. It's probably because I covered NATO things. It's kind of like I'm a civilian, so. And I'm like, well, if I as a civilian experiment that, they might be experimenting with all kinds of certain technologies. It's to do with communication and there is also something where how does it meet neurodivergent people? Because I think millennials and Gen Zs, it's the two Chiron Mercury ruled. Okay, the early millennials, or kind of like since the mid 80s, the early Pluto Scorpios, and not all of them, it's true, because Chiron was doing the back and forth with Taurus and Gemini, and I think the early Gen Zers would have been Chiron Mercury ruled, and this is a wound around communication. So there can be, it's not about learning to express oneself. No, it's neurodivergence. And it can be due to certain people's neurodivergence that certain things happen and they didn't know exactly what is it. And some of the things is because they're neurodivergent and some of the things not. If I think, for example, about Magha, then the understanding social cues that Magha has is meeting with extreme either oblivion, naivete, or downright just like it can be because somebody is neurodivergent, they don't have kind of like the checks and balances that somebody or something or some situation is not, how should I say that? But on the other hand, they could speak with like the people of regal figure and the people with the same avoidance, and sudden speech. And now to add a layer of a layer of weirdness, it's also signed to do with children. Um, Uranus square denotes can have to do with a sense of overwhelm of sudden communication. Um, Mercury with Sirius. Mercury Cancer can be emotional overwhelm of sudden communication or sudden communication that is emotionally overwhelming. With Uranus, there's a little bit of a detachment of how emotionally overwhelming a situation or a message is. And Mercury square Saturn. Mercury is separating from the square to Saturn, so there was a certain crisis. And the result of that crisis can be that it's even more accentuated that the attempts of somebody to work put them in situations that they were not understanding. It can even be where the society or people were bitching about somebody not working or why they're not working when they were working, and then they tried maybe to tend to the issue of work, and then certain things happen around them, and then it became very obvious that they're not able to work. And they may also not really be able to be intimate with people. Um, they can have competence at, let's say, solving certain problems, but regarding that issue, they're not really they can, for example, be a better theoretician than mathematician. Or if they're a mathematician, the theoretical part is better than the computational part. And it's meeting the world at a juncture where it reconsiders consumerism. Um, It can be people that are business savvy and neurodivergent at the same time. It's kind of like the person that cannot develop an equation, but they can develop the science, if that makes sense. But their neurodivergence doesn't, how should I say that? It doesn't respond normally. And I think a lot of the Me Too and the things that are going to be out in Venus and Leo are the result of that. Whether it's because we've reached a certain threshold and then, or because it's some sort of neurodivergence that doesn't, with Gemini, there's like no filter. Now, with Mercury, people might even be wondering if somebody is like, I remember there was this trend that the it girl is a little neurodivergent, and then there was like, oh, a lot of people pretending to be neurodivergent, but also a lot of people are like only getting that word. I remember when I first logged on Twitter, it's the first time I heard the word neurodivergent, and I'm like, oh my god, I did not know that's what it's called. Like,
מרכז קניות ביג, דרך ראייה מנאווי.
That's so affirming. To mother one. You have to say that aloud.
התחנה הבאה, דרך ראייה מנאווי, יוסף אבוצקאי. דרך ראייה מנאווי, יוסף אבוצקאי.
Now with Uranus squaring the nose, there's a little bit of a crisis around that. And it seems that the big pressure of people to work created this pressure cooker where, and it can be like, you know, if I can think about myself, when I haphazardly became a partial whistleblower in a very casual way that. And also with Uranus, the attempt to categorize people is falling flat, like there's going to be a crisis around that. Like I said in the previous episodes, like scandals that are going to be really weird. And because Mercury, Saturn is like, Saturn is like accountability and Mercury is words. And then it's like, it's really obvious that this person there's something to do with the communication, but also all of these things that are coming about is like that person might have been abused because of that. And it's not like, learn to communicate. No, there's a trauma that causes that was at the language development phase.
Henrietta Sold מרחוב התקווה.
it can even be like, think about it,
התחנה הבאה,
neurodivergent people that
קניון
cannot
הנגב,
have an
משחק
actual phone
בינלאומי.
call. It's kind of like they can broadcast for days and days and days and days, but they can't have like a conversation. And there can even be an issue around certain figures that were supposed to know that or to diagnose that, and that can put into question those figures. And it can be that somebody that, like, certain people were so much stressed to work even though they were working. And it's like, are they trying to human traffic? What is going on? And it can also be intergenerational, where parents, like from the older generation, would be like, oh, they're probably making a show because they don't want to work or something like that. And it's kind of like not like that at all. In fact, the mess in the room is trauma. Or, oh, they don't like to work harder, like they're building half moons in the literal desert, almost combating Standard Oil, and you're here bothering about their messy room.
התחנה הבאה, תחנה מרכזית עירוניים מדרום.
Because the square is also going to be on degree 3, which is communication. Either degree 3 or degree 2. It's like people trying to press people so much about work that it compounded to such a megalithic fiasco. Yeah, the square is going to be around the greater, which is business and communication. I think that both Gen Zers and millennials, the early ones, are going to expose unprecedented levels of human trafficking because we're too neurodivergent to even be able to understand what is going on. And once we get something, we're like, oh, the entire structure is designed to traffic people.
תחנה מרכזית עירוניים מדרום.
And then when everybody's around, why don't they want to work? It's like their tax is kind of like their tax is due diligence, and they can't call anybody, and they can't communicate with anybody, and they're like, they took care of it, but from an email that was, why? Because they did whatever expense upon call was the true crime astrology show, and what? It's like, but why don't they go to like a job? They can't. But were they like, no?
התחנה הבאה.
And it can be showing some unprecedented level of abuse towards neurodivergent people. Because if I think about like the Me Too, also think about the fact that neurodivergent people could have been less excited about authority figures. It's kind of like they could have been excited to meet a person but all the other stuff would be like weird. No. And they, because of the pattern recognition, they would be identifying like certain things, and they would not have like a name for them, and that thing would be, you know, like a petering drop, dark cold and stuff, and and the attempt to understand, because Mercury is to try to understand something or the details of something. They would study like another science and another science and another science and another science. So, you know, the thing about neurodivergent and autistic people is that if they try to put us into a category, if they try to smear campaign us, we wouldn't know this. Nobody. Like, or if somebody tries to, let's say, harass or bully us, we would try to understand what if the economy is going to crash down, because otherwise they would have had something better to do. And then it's like, oh, the economy is about to crash down. We actually need to broadcast about that. Um, Venus will be opposing Pluto with the moon sparking that opposition upon that square. Mars 22ing in Taurus. You know what I'm think about it. If a mafia person talks to a neurodivergent person, the neurodivergent doesn't understand power, doesn't understand authority, and doesn't understand in general why is that person being unreasonable. And then it says like you're supposed to be afraid, and it's like I don't know what to do with that. It's like I need housing, I need food. Oh, we can give you a job. No, rape is not a job. And then there's this all around compounding fiasco that the neurodivergent person is kind of like, can I grab some sushi? There's no sushi. Nobody left anything on the plate. I have my fork. I so um, and it's kind of like it's their naivete, but Uranus squaring the nodes. Mercury is ruling over Ketu, Venus is applying to oppose Pluto, Mars is 22ing. Venus trines Neptune. These people simply don't respond to in the way that other people respond. And I think about it when Pluto was going over my Neptune. I was describing something actually very accurately, and the whole world went very weird around it. And I was doing all the right things, like I had some sort of a traumatic experience with communication over the web, and I was like, okay, let's go pick a place where there is a forum of people, and and then that forum of people were like, oh, didn't you know that that place is so and so and so and so? And I was like, no, I had no idea. It's just like a forum of people. Um, and then the usual coping mechanism is like to study something. Today I was studying the engineering to do with claustrophobia and agoraphobia, which I made a video about the city structures, and that was kind of like calming to the nervous system. Um, yeah. So the great tree is communication, business, technology. Um, and Rahu is with Jupiter. Jupiter, 27 degrees Cancer. Yeah.